Hey, I'm Jeff, and I make music with my brother.
Hi, I'm Jonathan, and I also make music with my brother.
Together, we are Ekko and Sidetrack, and we make music that sounds like this.
And this.
And even this. This podcast is about music, creativity, and everything in between.
Welcome to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack. As always, this podcast is brought to you by Short Order Burger Co. Use the code word RUOK at checkout when you're in store for 10% off your entire order. That again is the code word RUOK for 10% off in store at either the Hay Street or Fremantle store. Enjoy the delicious burger. Yo.
Welcome back to A Band Apart with Ekko and Sidetrack. If you've just joined us, welcome for the first time. If you've joined any of the episodes, welcome back, as I said just before. Clearly
A double
my
welcome.
brain...
A welcoming back, a double welcoming back.
Clearly my brain
Clearly my brain is...
Clearly my brain is firing on all cylinders. Thanks for everyone that has been tuning in recently and getting in touch about the podcast. Those that are fans of 69ing as well. I had a few people reach out and also a few people just mention it to me.
Big up the 69 warriors out there.
69ers.
The 69ers. Today's the actual 69th episode, so we all should be celebrating with a good 69.
Yeah.
If you can, if you have the ability to do that.
And
or not, if you don't like to.
And if you don't want to 69 with someone, maybe just share the podcast with them. That's equally as fun. It's definitely not. But today, the day we're recording this, the day this comes out, is Thursday, the 9th of September, which is, in Australia, it's Are You OK Day. Are You OK is a suicide prevention charity. And it kind of encourages people to talk about mental health and things like that and ask their friends, family, and co-workers, etc., all humans, are you okay? And start the conversation and about sharing our feelings and emotions.
Yes. And as you know, if you're a long-time listener to the podcast, Jeff and I love talking about that kind of thing. And try to share our emotions quite openly and try to be, what's the word? Champions of, especially men, sharing their emotions.
Yeah, and we've both had times where we haven't been okay.
Yes.
And it's a bit important to share.
It is, and that leads us to our first segment of the day. Dear Diary.
Dear Diary.
Dear Diary.
I had a good day today.
I'm angry today. I'm sad today. I don't like myself today. I bought a remote control car today. Today was a good day. So in this segment, I'm going to read a passage from a diary from a time when I wasn't okay.
And we're going to make fun of it, or we're going to...
Oh, you...
Sorry. And we're going to pick it to pieces.
We're going to pick it to pieces.
No. Sorry. It's just about sharing. Yeah.
And we can talk about it if you want. And then I'm going to read a passage from when I was doing better.
Yeah, which is a lovely contrast.
Yeah. And I mean, this is... Both Jeff and I have tried to keep diaries or journals for the past 3 years, two years, I think. You got into a really good journaling habit in 2020.
Yeah.
And I...
That was last year.
Yeah, last year. It's 2025.
It feels like fucking years, but yeah.
And I've kind of done it on and off for the past year or two and tried to keep a journal since when I moved to London. And so it's kind of written over a couple of books here and there. I want to actually compile them all because I did keep one in COVID, in early COVID times, but it's not in either one of these books. So the first passage I'm going to read is from April 5th, 2020.
Do you want to read it and then give a bit of context, or give a bit of context and read it?
I'll give a bit of context and then read it. So, April 5th, sorry,
This would have been very close to you not getting on a plane to come back to Australia.
Yeah, so this is about 2.5 weeks after I got COVID.
Yeah.
So this is, I believe, I'm living by myself. I've moved out of Dalston and I'm living by myself in South London.
Recovering from COVID and kind of reeling from the way the world's taken a turn. Because you were pretty like, no, this is not happening it's not as big a deal.
Yeah.
Right up until towards the end of March. I remember calling you around my birthday. You know, that said March 5th was kind of, it was kicking off here, like we were starting to lock stuff down.
Well, March, the gig I had in Estonia was the 13th of March.
Yeah.
And I got home that weekend. I was sick. So I got home on the
And that gig didn't
14th.
go ahead.
The gig didn't go ahead. I stayed in the hotel for 2 days.
Due to COVID.
Yep. And then I got home. Tash and Tony got home from their trip. They narrowly escaped being stuck in Berlin and Poland.
Mm.
And then we were all home on the Monday. I got sick. I was set to fly out the following Monday. Flight gets cancelled on the Sunday.
You were going to fly to Australia.
I was going to fly home to Australia. That flight gets cancelled. Then London goes into lockdown.
Mm.
Basically that week, I think.
And then you decided to
And then
move out.
We realised that all three of us couldn't live in that apartment or work from there. And so I moved out that week. So this must be a couple of days after I've moved out.
Yeah.
I'll start. And should I put a voice on? Should I kind of speak it with the voice that I was hearing in my head?
You do whatever you want, buddy.
Dramatize it a little bit?
That's not a word, but okay.
I feel stupid today. I couldn't concentrate on the mix volume, and it seemed all a muddle to me. Up and down, up was down and down was sideways. Everything was muddled. I felt like I couldn't make anything. I can't fucking make music. I was so unfocused and feel shit about myself. That leads to me asking questions like, what are you doing? Like, are you fucking wasting your time? I have to prove to myself this week that I'm not wasting my time in London and that I do deserve to be here. And that's the end. So it was pretty aggressive, pretty annoyed at myself.
Yeah, that's pretty...
I think this is definitely linked to feeling like I'm not leaving. I've decided to stay actively. But here I am trying to get a mix right or trying to do something right, and I fucking can't do the most simple thing, which is adjust volume.
Yeah, you can't hear the music. And that says like a large amount about how our brains work when we're stressed. It's very difficult to focus on tasks and do a good job of a in-depth task like mixing a song or something like that when you do feel stressed and anger and frustration.
Absolutely. You can't do anything like...
And you would have been... I remember chatting to you and I think you were still a bit like, well, I'm not going to come back for New Zealand in April, but I'll probably play the Czech Republic in June, and then when you come up for Liquidity, we'll do this, this, and this. It was still like, this is a month problem, this is a 2-month problem, and I can't even fathom the amount of uncertainty you must have felt at that time.
I'm pretty sure at that time we were still thinking about, originally it was going to be Tony's 30th. It was going to be in Greece.
Yeah.
And it was going to be, before COVID, I was going to come do shows in New Zealand, in Australia, and then fly direct to Prague to do a show. To do Beats for Love Festival, I think. And then I was trying to figure out how I could get from Prague to Greece in one day because it was like the birthday was after. And I believe that holiday didn't get called off until after this. Like we were still thinking we'd go to Greece.
Summer was still a thing.
Summer was still
Going to be a thing.
A thing.
So how does that feel reading that now? Do you feel like, oh, I can definitely remember that feeling? Can you forgive yourself? And do you feel like you've changed some of your inner monologues?
Yeah. I can forgive myself. And I do feel like I've changed some of my inner monologue. And I also feel it hurts me to think how harsh I was on myself. Even though I can still be harsh on myself. Reading back thoughts and words you've had, they sting. And it's like you're stinging yourself.
Sometimes why it's good to have a journal so you can write down whatever you want. And when you reflect back on it, you're like, whoa, I was really in that.
Yeah. And when I read that, I go, hey, buddy, just take a walk outside. It's not such a big deal. It's not, you don't have to get this mix right. You just leave it. It's okay. It's okay.
That might have been around the time there was some variations on the versions of paper birds bouncing around between us.
Yeah, probably. I spoke to a few people about this in lockdown. I know Max Linguistics and I had a few conversations about it. The pressure of initially in lockdown, it was like, I've got free time to do what I want. Yeah, I can do the thing that I've always wanted to do. I can write that great novel. Or I can finish 10 tunes. And some people were really productive. And then other people, that didn't work. And it was actually a negative effect on them. But yeah, Max and I spoke about the pressure of time. Like, here's all the free time you've got. You got it. Now you do, like, create the thing you've always talked about doing.
And after you don't do something
and then
very much for a day, you're like, I've wasted a day and I've got I'm not doing anything.
I can't do it.
Yeah, the
And
expectation is too high.
The expectation is too high, and you also don't give it enough time. You know, if you're like, I'm going to write a tune in 2 weeks, but you go like, I've got all the time, I'm going to be super productive. Just because you have more time doesn't mean that you're going to use that time, every second of it, super productively.
Yeah. Also, like, it's a classic thing that you underestimate the amount of what you can achieve in a week, but overestimate as the saying goes, you underestimate what you can achieve in a year and overestimate what you can achieve in a week. Even then, I think that's meant to be the other way around. But it's that feeling of being like, I'm going to make a massive list in my diary for Thursday, and then you go, I've only achieved 4 things on my list of 10. My day is ruined. It's like, you did 4 things. That's really great.
Half glass
full
rather than half glass empty.
Yeah.
Thinking.
We're mixing metaphors every which way, and they're falling like a house of cards. So upon reading that,
yeah,
do you want to read us a passage from when you were feeling better?
Sure. I just have to find it again. Okay, I was gonna read you a different passage, but I'll read this one because it's shorter and it's also a bit more reflective of my mindset. This is from the 22nd of June. It's a Monday. Running helps my brain. It declutters and reorganizes it so I can better interface with life. I'm going to run more for myself, for my own happiness and well-being. I don't get the same mental clarity I got from F45, though. I got drunk yesterday and I can't remember getting home. That might be a problem. Mentally today, I feel cloudy. The apathy is strong. Some feelings of self-loathing swell up, and I quiet them with a run or the question, can I love myself? And do I deserve love? I do. I am worth it.
Yeah, it's a really good thing to remind yourself. I often remind myself. I sign off my journal entries saying like, "You are enough. Trust the gold inside you."
I sign off by saying, I am Jonathan motherfucking Hansen, and I love you.
Yeah, it's great. It seems like you had a little, good little epiphany in that. In that obviously you've valued exercise for some time, but it was good to like write it down and be like, running helps. This is a thing. I need to do that because guess what? That's your little like something you've got now in your tool belt, and I see you do it. You're like, I'm angry. This is happening. I'm going for a run, and you can do that, and that's kind of a superpower.
Yeah, I've said that for a while, I think. Like, running is a fucking superpower. I mean, not only because you can literally run somewhere and you get there 3 times as fast as walking, but you can be in a certain state of mind and you can just run. And, you can be mad and angry at someone. And if you take all that energy into running as hard as you can, and you're like, as you run, you're like, fuck them and fuck this, you'll get tired after. Most people get tired after like 600 meters. And then you start to like falter. And then you're like, I can't even be bothered being so angry. And then you just keep going. And then after you run for 30 minutes, you're like, why was I even mad?
Yeah, and
It's a great energy release.
Yeah, and then you obviously get the endorphins and the runner's high and things like that, which further encourage the feeling good aspect of
Absolutely.
exercise. I was quite frustrated yesterday, and then I went to the gym and lifted something heavy, and like pushed myself working out, and you can't hold something heavy and be distracted.
No.
It's dangerous. And
Absolutely.
You can't. So it's a great distraction, but then you're like, oh yeah, actually I just had to discharge that energy and now I feel great and I feel like energetic and invigorated and sexy and like aroused, and not just aroused sexually, aroused like life. I'm more full of life force.
The life is brighter. The world is brighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
I always loved walking out of
at 45 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the sun's shining,
and you're like, whoa! I've got the whole day.
The whole
man.
day. It's 8:30. You got.
Jonah, do you want a coffee? I'd love a coffee. What are we doing to anything we fucking want?
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah.
I think that high is better than any drug or alcohol high.
Do you know why it's not as like revered? Maybe because it's not as mind bending. Like you're not, your eyes aren't wobbling. You're like not like,
it's not as strong.
Oh yeah, overwhelmed. Your body's not completely overwhelmed, but it is just this like firm buzz that you're like, this feels great. I feel good.
Yeah, it feels more stable.
Oh, absolutely.
I guess than like a drug high. There is a certain amount of fleetingness to a drug high.
Yeah.
It's not the same as exercise. Yeah, I mean that's more than a year ago. That one, June, 14 months.
How do you feel now? Are you okay?
Yeah, I feel better. I am more okay than I was a year ago. I think I'm more okay than I was.
How's your OK-ness?
6 months ago. My OK-ness?
OK-ness.
My OK-ness.
Yeah.
My OK-ness is good. It's
tight.
Good.
No.
Are you trying to get me to say I have a tight anus?
No. OK-ness is a term.
Is it?
Yeah. OAK.
Ness.
ANU. No, it's a term like to be comfortable. Yeah, it's like my OK-ness. Like it's almost like surrendering to like, I'm okay. I'm good. It's not a I'm fine to be less than, because you're not. It's like a peace with the world, and you're like, everything is okay. And that's kind of where we all want to be. It's not that big things don't bother us. It's that we realize that big, small, good, bad, these are all things part of the tapestry of life. And that's all okay. Like there's a saying, I can't remember who said it, but you're okay, I'm okay. Or even better, you're just okay, I'm just okay, and that's okay.
Yeah, I like that saying.
And that's like, that's a play on some kind of like very kind of Buddhist thinking. I can't remember exactly who said that kind of thing, but I heard that recently on a Tara Brock podcast where she was talking about being enough and not allowing our craving for more, which we feel so viscerally in this modern world where we're being inundated by me, I'm on sale, grab this, you need a new car, you need a new phone, all this stuff. We think that more is the answer. But really, if we apply that to our feelings, then we actually just need to, that's the wrong way to think about it. So it's like, yeah, being okay with and being comfortable with your okayness.
It's like it's the kind of Buddhist thinking that life is suffering, but that's life, so you deal with it. So it is okay. Like everything is, nothing's going to be perfect.
Perfect doesn't exist, and also suffering in the Buddhist sense isn't suffering like by being stabbed and then like, oh, I'm suffering.
No.
Suffering is like
bad things happen.
Yeah, it's okay.
Or you get tired, or something doesn't go your way. Yeah, and that's okay. It's kind of just finding that median in life rather than being ecstatic or happy all the time and then not super low.
But I would say that that being okay, finding comfortableness with your okayness,
maybe comfort in the uncomfortable.
Yeah, finding that will make you more happy because you can just be like,
yes, that's true.
All right. It's not about living life in the middle of the road.
No.
It's saying that the road is going to be bumpy and sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down. But you know that. So that's all right.
Yeah. It's okay.
And it's not that things don't matter. It's that they matter a lot less than you might think they do at the moment.
Yeah. It is a really difficult thing to remind yourself of when you're in the middle of the thing that matters so much.
Oh, it's fucking impossible. This is all right, man. This won't matter in 6 months. Fuck you. This is the biggest deal. This is right now. This is the biggest deal to me. As I think I've heard Joe Rogan say, the worst thing that's ever happened to anyone is the worst thing that's happened to them. If the worst thing that's ever happened to you, because you've lived a very charmed life, the worst thing that ever happened to you is that you didn't get that promotion, you'd be like, this is the worst. This is the worst. This is absolute rock bottom. This is zero. And then you meet someone who's like, I lost both my parents when I was a kid. And you're like, that's pretty bad. It's like, that's the worst thing.
That's their rock bottom. It's like we're all measuring with a different
scale. Yeah.
Yeah. That's something else that's important to remind yourself of.
And the same thing with positivity. If we go the other way, like some of the elation that I've felt, I believe is pretty high. Like I would like to think that I'm operating in the 80th percentile of the bell curve of elated experiences that people have experienced. And I'd like to have more elated experiences because I think what we do gives us the opportunity to have them. it's pretty. I mean, it's kind of a rare thing to perform in front of people, a lot of people. But it's also incredibly nourishing to the soul to do what you love and share that with the world.
Mm.
And I think that gives me personally this like, it's not an ego like, yes, listen to my music. Yes, look at me. Meh.
Yeah,
It's like, I did this and I want you to like it or not, but it's really important that I showed some of my soul.
Yeah.
And that feels good to share. So in that case, I feel like my highs have been pretty high. So I'm blessed in that regard.
Absolutely. I always find it strange when people say, I mean, it's true in some circumstances, but people talk about DJs standing up there and being like, what seemingly self-congratulatory, like having fun, like being with the crowd, putting your hands up in the air. Like I see people saying negative things online about that, and they're like, oh, they think they're so good. But as a DJ that does that in those moments, it is so much more about sharing the moment with the crowd than it is being up there and being like, I am God.
No, you're reacting like you would if you heard the song and you were in the crowd.
Fuck yeah.
You're like, it's still such a buzz to me to know what song I'm going to mix next and be like, this one's going to fucking rock this fucking thing. Yeah. I'm excited. Let's fucking play it together and let's all get excited.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not sitting there like, and then they said it was Ekko and Sidetrack and they all looked at me.
Yeah, exactly. It's a shared experience.
Fucking oath. It's a shared experience. Life is a shared experience.
Life is a shared experience.
How are you feeling today? How are you feeling this week?
Feeling good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I slept really well last night.
That's important. Sleep is important. I drank a reasonable amount of alcohol last night. For a midweek, it was a bit, but it was worth it and exciting and lovely, and I enjoyed it a lot.
I'm glad you did. I think it's important to recognize when we have a lot of something and enjoy it.
Yeah.
And not judge ourselves too harshly. And you're not, you don't drink every day.
I don't really drink during the week, but...
So you can enjoy a couple of cheeky ones. And there's nothing better than a couple of cheeky drinks. I love getting drunk when you're not planning to get drunk.
Yeah, or even not even getting drunk, just being like, oh, I'm a little bit zhuzhed. Also this week, I watched a decent movie. I should say this. I'm the first to bag out Netflix's productions. I reckon, as a rule, they're quite shit.
For movies, they do quite well with TV shows.
Good TV shows.
It's movies, though.
But their movies seem like their stories just aren't right. I don't know. It's like they're running too much on the algorithm. We've talked about this in old podcasts, like the fact they have all this data and they're just trying to like give us what we want rather than telling actual stories.
Well, at least that's what it feels like they're doing. I would assume that's what they do because they do have a lot of data.
But this movie Holly and I watched was called Worth, starring Michael Keaton.
It's about the lawyer that's in charge of handing out not reparations, compensation to the victims of 9/11.
Yes, and it's a true story, and it has its issues, but as a whole, it's an interesting story. And it brings back an interesting part of our history, and also, looks at the kind of question of like, what is a human life worth? It talks about that rich tapestry of humans. But yeah, I recommend it. Less than 2 hours. Michael Keaton's solid. There's a few other good actors in it. It's good. I enjoyed it.
I think it's also written by the guy that made, or directed by the guy that made the guy that wrote maybe Spotlight.
Produced same producers. And it's directed by
the journalist from The Wire, right?
No. He's got something else coming out soon though.
Okay.
Scott. Yeah.
For those of you who've seen The Wire, this guy's such a piece of shit in The Wire.
He's not a real piece of shit. He's trying to.
He's a liar.
He gets sucked into the game.
But he's like in real life, not in movie world. He's a great writer and a director.
And he is a journalist. It's actually written by Max Borenstein, who is the writer of the new Godzilla, and also worked on King Kong Skull Island. Wow, he's really doubled down on the whole King Kong kind of thing. There was Minority Report TV show. I've got to stop looking at IMDb. Anyway, back to the podcast. Jonathan, you normally have a question for me. Do you have any questions this week? You don't have to say anything. We can just wrap this up. It's been a great chat.
Yeah, no, I was going to say something, but we can talk about it on next week's podcast.
If you were hanging out for Dream Chat, bad luck. Dreams are arguably not that interesting to hear about.
Unless you hear about it straight away.
Yeah. I like hearing about dreams from my girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like when we're like waking up and like, whoa, she's actually had a few dreams recently. More than one that have involved Rod Stewart.
Ooh.
And also travel. Like she stole some drumsticks from Rod Stewart's house. And he was like, I just wish people didn't steal my drumsticks. And then she also like, we're at a big party and there was like champagne.
What do you think do you think the Rod Stewart connection is because we watched Three Musketeers and he was part of the...
No, I don't know where the Rod
song?
Stewart thing comes from, but she's definitely been dreaming about travel, like being on planes and going to places. And I'm missing that. But you're going somewhere, Jonathan.
I am going somewhere. What a great segue. Tomorrow I am traveling to Adelaide for a show at Electric Circus on Friday, the 10th of September.
One night only, Ekko and Sidetrack. Only one of us is going. I have a previous engagement, but Jonathan will be flying the flag high, and we'll be testing some new tunes as well.
We will be testing some new tunes. It's also kind of not a great time to travel together because of the laws, the ever-changing laws, especially getting back into Western Australia. There is a risk. There's always a risk of being stuck outside of the state. And if both of us are stuck outside of the state, it has dire consequences for the Ekko and Sidetrack team.
It's fun that you get to go and do a bit of an adventure. I've done a few of these, like one night in and out.
Yeah.
G2G passing.
I haven't played a domestic show.
Yeah. So it's exciting.
This whole time.
If you see John on the streets, say hello. If you see me on the streets, say hello. And share the podcast with your friends, and a big shout out to everyone that's listening.
Yes. We love you all. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for allowing us to have these conversations and being with us in the room. And Jeff, as always, thank you for listening to me. Maybe next week we can share a couple of your journal entries.
I could, yeah, definitely.
If you feel comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I'll try and find something. Thanks for sharing, buddy. I love you.
I love you too.
See ya.
See ya. Thanks for listening to this week's podcast. Make sure you subscribe to us on your podcast app and keep up to date with all new episodes. They're going to be coming out once a week. We are Ekko and Sidetrack on Facebook and Instagram. On Twitter, we are Ekko Sidetrack. Go listen to our music on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, YouTube, or wherever your ears consume happiness. Lots of love, people.